Hey,
Hello.
hi. How are you?
Good evening. How's it
Are you
going?
in my room? I'm pretty sure. Is that an IKEA thing?
Yeah, everyone's got one of
Yeah,
these.
yeah,
You should probably go
standard.
and get one of these.
Have you got an affiliate link?
No, I haven't actually, but I feel like I need to. Everyone seems to,
Okay.
there's nothing, no one will share anything with people these days. It's like, hold
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
minute, I'll get the link for you. Just
yeah,
give
yeah.
me the link.
Exactly.
It's okay. You're going to make 20p from this sale.
Yeah.
How are you?
You got 20p's add up. You're
Right.
saying if not, if people, rich people like you, it's like 20p here and there. Hey, imagine
Cost
some
of
of us
living.
need that 20p. Come on.
Cost of
I'm
living
fine. I'm fine. Thank you. How are you? How's your weekend been and your day?
is very, very sluggish, but it's okay. We live a good day.
Good. 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 Good.
I have resources that I'm looking at the same time, so make sure no one calls.
Okay. No problem. No problem. You are a professional.
I've connected
No
it to
problem.
the laptop so I still get battery at the same time, charge my phone, so it should be good.
Yeah, no problem.
But how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It's been a busy day, so catch a joke. Um, I thought I was doing something for work, and that involved me being at home
Oh.
today. And then I realized that I was not doing that thing at work that required me to be at home. I was supposed to be at work.
Oh,
Work. So yeah.
good.
So some good driving.
But
You
you
know,
need
legal driving. You know, was undertaken
okay.
to get me there in time.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
fine.
yes. You're
Okay.
not gonna get me.
I know, I was gonna say
Come on.
this will turn into a whole nother conversation. No, I'm joking,
You're
I'm
not
joking.
gonna get me. Come
I
on.
was gonna say people's yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like yeah, I mentioned you said something about David O2 or Savage, and I was like, yes, you have joined the League of those
I'm
people.
joined. I'm honored to be like to be considered on the same platform
Ah,
as
me too, I'm honored
as his man.
because
You know.
it's been a while. You haven't invited me onto this platform, so it's okay. But
Oh, now, man. You were one of the first calls.
oh, is it?
It's serious.
No, it's okay. Blue beginnings.
Indeed.
So I have my phone as well,
Okay.
because I've got part of some discussion points, and then
Yeah,
uh,
man.
part of what we want to talk to. So I think, are you doing intro first, or should I do intro first?
Well, why don't you do an intro? And obviously, if you get anything wrong, then I'll correct you.
No, in that case, no. Well, to be fair, like, obviously my followers may not necessarily know your journey. So actually,
Yes,
just a bit of
indeed.
context. Myself and I are cousins,
Yes.
from back in the day. Well, we still are, but we used to hang like back in the day when he was young and cool enough to hang with us.
Oh, okay.
Him and his brothers.
So we're starting already. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Just remember.
To be fair, I'll give you credit. I don't know, Bolaji might not be watching this, but you are the funniest brother out of all three. Maybe Bolaji, but closely, Bolaji.
No. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late.
So,
I
so
won.
I'm
In fact,
definitely
that's it. Let's end the interview
the
now. That's good.
interview's done.
I
Fantastic.
won.
Hi guys. Any questions? But no, by profession, medical doctor by profession.
Yes. Yes.
A father to three,
Three. Count
hubby
them.
to
1, 2, 3.
three, hubby to an amazing Lena who also makes wonderful cakes as well. Along,
He does.
you know, all the family in Manchester actually are very good bakers. I'll just say so myself. Tried and
Yes.
sampled all. But in terms of maybe like that's my kind of like overview and stuff like that. But maybe fill in the gaps in terms of just kind of like
Yeah.
people that follow me and myself.
No problem. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, my name is Ayo. I'm many things. I am a Christian. I am a husband. I'm a father. I am, suppose now an author. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. And you know, I always say to people, as a hobby, I'm a consultant in acute medicine. I work in the Merseyside, and background 2020, my wife and I were like, you know what, 2020 is going to be our year. We're really looking forward to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we were excited about a new beginning. I entered 2020 wanting to be the fullest version of myself. That's what I said to my wife, because the preceding couple of years have been really tough. You know, when sometimes when there's pressure and you're narrow focused on just surviving, and you might lose parts of yourself. So I'm a musician. I hadn't played music. I hadn't played music for fun. I hadn't listened to a lot of music. I was like, no, I want to do everything that's inside me. And then I started walking down that road. And then in June of 2020, while I was at work, I had a stroke. The abridged version is I had some symptoms down my left side, and I did everything I can to avoid going to in fact, I left the hospital I was working at. I went home. I got worse. My wife took me to the hospital. This was in the midst of the COVID lockdown, so she couldn't come in with me, which was quite difficult for both of us. And then I had a CT scan, which was initially normal, and then I had an MRI scan, and I was told I had a stroke, a small stroke on the right side of my brain, which obviously affects the left side because your nerves cross over. So that was June, and my immediate thing was like, boy, I've got to do something different. I've got to start changing things in my life. My primary focus was I need to find a way of providing for my family that doesn't involve me changing time for money. So I started walking on a road, and then I was trying to get back on my feet, and then unfortunately my dad died in September. So 2020 was a year that really shook me, and I was derailed. And I think the book was
when was it birthed, actually?
Yeah, so part of the journey I was on with regards to like putting people in situations when I'm increasing my income and being able to help my family without changing my time for money. I was in some organizations, and I found myself in a position where I was just like sending messages to say, let's keep going, guys, and encouraging. And I was every Monday, we used to call them Monday motivational messages. And I look back.
I was going to say, I'm no, so this is part of your introduction, but I am going to be, if you don't mind, just kind of jumping in and out as well.
Of course.
In terms of just obviously we're here to talk about the book, and there is a background to the book as you've given us as well. But in terms of when you were sending out those messages of motivation, were you yourself really motivated at the time, or is it something you were also doing in order to gain that?
So do you know what? There are times when, you know, the message I'm sending is I think it's for somebody.
Okay.
But a lot of the time, these are things that I needed to hear myself.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
You know, keep going. It'll be worth it in the end. And you know, the things that I was learning in my personal development about procrastination and fear of failure and fear of success, all these things. And the interesting thing is that the more I said these things and the more people I had conversations with, the more people were like, hold on, these are issues in my life as well. So I was getting kind of feedback about the fact that not only was it information that was like dealing with where they were, but it was, you know, presented in a way that they were able to really absorb and digest.
Okay, I hear you. That's good.
So after I look back after a year and 18 months, and I was like, you know what, I could probably write a book. Now my in terms of like lofty aims and stuff and aiming for the stars or the sky, then you might hit the stars. I initially set out, I'm going to do a 52 chapter you know, book, one for every week of the year.
Okay, yeah. As in you write it, or the book was to reflect one for every week of the year?
So it was going to be like, okay, so there would be themes that would follow on, but there would be 52 thoughts.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, 52 was it was more than I had in me at the time. Yeah. So I have less than that. Exactly. But it was good. Like I didn't set out to write the book in the form, but I was collating the book and putting all the pieces together. It was tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
You know, there were a lot of late nights and rewrites, and some of the thoughts, because the book is called Building Blocks,
which I want to touch on.
Thoughts you need to think on the way to living your dream life. And some of the thoughts, as I reread them, I thought these aren't fully fleshed out thoughts.
Okay.
So some of them I parked and I was like, well, if I do a book 2, I'll elaborate on that. And some of them I thought, actually, well, I can add, maybe a few things here and there. And then what I felt was I had, about 38 fully formed thoughts that I was able to put almost like a anthology type thing rather than like a textbook,
Okay, cool. I hear you. I wanted to speak on the title of the book, because obviously you've got children, young kids as well. And building blocks are things that they do play with, I guess, or they live in their early years. Was the title, you've alluded to it slightly, but was there anything, the inspiration from the kids, that gave the title of the book at all? Was this kind of simply in terms of?
No, do you know where the title came from? It came from Lena, my wife.
Okay.
So we were thinking about, okay, so what can we call the book? Obviously, one of the organizations that I was with, people started gravitating to me, and I formed my own little organization called Master Builders. So building themed things were our USP, if you like. So that's where building blocks came from. Plus, it was like the thoughts you need to think. So like you put all these things together, and then you put yourself in a position where you can change where you are mentally. Because I think the lesson that I had was, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And the thing that I kept coming across in my own life and other people's life is that people kept saying, well, this is who I am.
Okay.
This is who I am. So the concept of say, look, if you think different, it seemed lost on people. And with my own personal development, I was getting to the point where I was realizing, so the concept of changing or even transformation. Hold on, if you couldn't change, then wouldn't you still be in nappies? So the introducing people to the fact that actually it's possible. Not only is change inevitable, but it's possible for you to be intentional about the change and change in the direction you want to be. So what kind of person do you want to be in a year, in 5 years time, and what are the things that you would need to do and think to get there?
Across, which makes 100%, like in terms of sense, and being very intentional in terms of the direction that you're going to. As 2020 showed us and showed you and the family that things can just happen sometimes out of nowhere. So you can always have a plan. I guess having a plan, I wouldn't say 100% helps, but it gives you sort of like a cushion if you fell back on something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also in terms of what we experienced in 2020 with On-Call, with what happened to you, it also acts as, if, for example, you didn't have this vision, I guess, in your mind, or a set place of where you intended to go or what you intended to do, you could almost essentially end up starting from a beginning, or maybe find yourself completely out of touch in terms of what next and what not. And I feel like that is clear in terms of what you guys had. You started off by telling me, obviously, at 2020, you guys said, look, this is our year. It's still probably, and it can still be, but in terms of like that cushion and that comfort zone, whilst things may not always go to plan, it's easier to fall back on something that has crumbled not completely to pieces, but at least the bits on that you can essentially continue to build the blocks or the foundation that you had, right?
Absolutely. I think in most areas, I can't think of an area in my life that it's not applicable to. Having a plan is always better than having no plan. Even if you put yourself in a situation where the plan changes, having a situation where you know what direction you're wanting to go to. One of my favorite sayings that came out of 2020 is, if it's not the thing, it might be the thing that leads to the thing. So many of us are crippled by, what if I get it wrong? And what if I do this, and in the context of doing something that matters, not coasting through life. I want to do something. I want to, because I think a lot of the people, and it might just be the people that I'm speaking to, when you grow up and you think, actually, there's a way in which I want to change the world. There's a way in which I want to change my surrounding and society. And you get up in life, and then life kind of beats that out of you and say, stop being silly, go to work, pay your bills, and then just enjoy the weekend. And that was reawakened in me to say, actually, no, I think there's a way that I want to affect things around me. And, building blocks was part of my mental journey to get to the position and say, okay, how do I do that? How do I become that person that starts to walk down a direction
Mm-hmm.
that will take me to a point of, significance or impact or, other things.
With that in mind, actually, so if we look at some of the beginning, so the how you introduce the chapters, Good Morning
Yeah.
Millionaires,
Yeah.
into the theme. You mentioned earlier, I mean, we speak into existence. You may already
Hey.
be. I'm not yet, but I'm speaking into existence. Why did you? Maybe in Naira. But in terms of oh god, in terms of choosing that opening for the chapters, what was your thought process behind that?
Okay, so I actually explain it in the book. So I started each message with "Good Morning Millionaires." The reason I did is because it was a tangible end point that I thought people could aspire to. Now, from my point of view, some people are like, if it's not money, but actually, in the book, I've talked about you can change millionaires to the thing that you're aspiring to, because it was about speaking in faith.
Okay.
So many of us in situations, what we do is that we use the power of our mouth to say where we are.
A lot of times, yeah.
rather than use the creative power in our mouth to say, well, where do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And say that thing. So Good Morning Millionaires was just an aspirational thing. So in faith, I want people's interaction with me to broaden their horizons and their minds for them to start thinking thoughts that would put them in a situation to say, actually, the thing that I'm aspiring to, I can achieve that. And if it's not millionaire status, that's fine. Then I'm just using it as a surrogate, tangible endpoint that could be anything else. It could be a doctor or a teacher or CEO or leader of an NGO or charity or expectant mother or all these kinds of things. It's just something. Again, at the time, my primary focus was I need to take care of my family.
Yeah,
So,
provide.
that was it for me.
I'm thinking what mine would be. Good morning, Slim T.
Good morning, BBC.
Maybe ITV.
ITV news anchor. Are you a BBC, ITV, or Channel 4 person, do you think?
I think I'm more of a Channel 4. I think Channel 4 is a little bit more creative, right?
Yeah.
BBC is a bit too formal and traditional. ITV, I think a mix between ITV and Channel 4. Channel
4, okay.
Yeah.
So she's free for booking, you guys. Just
like you said, we use up the power of our tongue to speak into where we want.
Absolutely.
I think Tommy's laughing. I think I know why she's laughing, because she caught the first joke. But I'm gonna move on to Channel 4. Okay, the shade has come in. So I had you part of the journey would be that obviously when people consider, I think when people say, oh, somebody had a stroke, the first thing they think of, oh my god, were they stressed, were they overworked, did they have too much on? And obviously you've now taken on a book as well. In terms of the journey after that happened, are there certain things that you decided to completely cut out and decide, I'm not doing this anymore?
So I was diagnosed with a stroke, and on the same day I was diagnosed with having high blood pressure, which was interesting for me because I'm a doctor.
He's a doctor.
And I hadn't checked my blood pressure. I couldn't even tell you last time I checked my blood pressure. And it's interesting because there is hypertension and stroke in my family. So they say doctors make the worst patients, and maybe that's what it was. So in terms of things that I tried to cut out, obviously I took time off work. Me personally, I didn't find work. So I'd had stress. But this was like six months into the new job, and the place I was working with, it was beautiful. So I don't know necessarily that it was that. And we did do investigations because I'm a young person, and we didn't really find anything. I think the things that I did was I tried to be much more intentional about my health.
Okay.
So and
videos as well.
So I started having conversations. I'm posting on YouTube and getting my face out there because, again, I know that in the Black community that engagement is a big thing, and I think trust is also a big thing. So having somebody who might look like me to say, uncle, auntie, please check your blood pressure, let's think about the foods that we're eating, let's do some exercise, let's drink some water, all these things might resonate a little better if it came from me. And especially in the church community, there's so much misunderstanding about faith and health and medicines and doctors and stuff. So I thought, who, not that I think this is why, but who better than the pastor's kid who is a doctor and a Christian to have these conversations in these circles. So that's why I started to post some stuff on, do some interviews and have conversations in my own personal life. I don't know whether you found this, but like, when it comes to health, a lot of the stuff is very punitive. Don't do this and don't do that and put that chicken down and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, let me start with what can I add?
Okay, fine. Okay.
Rather than feel like I'm taking things away from me, what can I add? Okay, so I don't walk very often. Let me start walking. Actually, I probably didn't drink a lot of water. So let me drink, 1.5 liters of. That's it. That's it. That's why you've got such luscious hair.
Ayo, please, guys, okay? MZ hair all the way if you guys want to wig at the end of this.
So, your urine is not supposed to be yellow.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be clear. Let me do that. Let me be intentional about making sure that I have fresh veg with my food and stuff, because I'm, typical African Nigerian man. If I've not eaten meat, like I feel like I'm being punished. Like
vegan.
Yeah. V what? Like, exactly, yeah. For me, can attest. So my sister-in-law's on the yeah.
She's laughing the hardest. But
yeah, it's like
okay, go on. Yeah.
No. When before me is like, I'm vegetarian. All the aunties are like, yeah, but you eat chicken, don't you?
Yeah, and I can actually testify to that, because I know that she's probably come around to my mom's before and she's like, oh, but there's just small. It's like the way that it's just a small piece of chicken inside this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not how it works. It's actually vegan.
Absolutely.
So my question to you then is that how did you actually, even in terms of what you sent through, how did you find the time? Well, not the time to do the full 52 as you've mentioned, but where did you find the time? Where were you
to do anything at all? Yeah. That's a very good question. So there's a degree to which with the family that I grew up in with, so my parents are pastors. So there was always a degree of business anyway. So I'm used to a level of hard work. So that was just baseline. But in the circles that we were moving in terms of like the aspiration and the financial aspirations and stuff, one of the themes that people were saying is that, everybody who you look at that you aspire to, or as an inspiration to you, they started where you are. I don't believe necessarily that they now have the same 24 hours as me, but they started where I am. And one of the things that somebody said was, we could all watch a bit less Netflix. The reality is that, and that's just not as I hate Netflix. If they want to sponsor me, that's also fine. But if you were to look at your day, there's probably a significant amount of redundancy where the thing that you're doing isn't moving your life forward. So if you're intentional about actually, I want to build my life, I want to move forward, there might be things that I am doing that I stop doing those things so I can have that time to invest in my future. Okay. And one of the biggest things was waking up early. I heard so many people talk about waking up early because two things. First off, because you're up early and other people aren't, there's not as much of a distraction. Your phone's not going off, so you can focus. But actually, if you wake up early, you just have more day. So for instance, let's say I hadn't written a book and I was starting the process of writing a book, and I know it takes me, let's say, 60 hours. Fine. But if I do an hour a day, I normally wake up at 7. Let's say I wake up at 6. I have an extra hour and I do an hour a day. In 60 days, I've written a book. And I think it really, in terms of goal setting and stuff, the process really helped me formulate those kinds of plans and stuff. It's possible for me to make a sacrifice on this end of time and say, well, I'm not going to enjoy, I'm not going to live this life, so as to put myself in a position where I have something that I've built or that I'm proud of, later down the line.
I think that's what an interesting point, because I'd probably counter argue that, because I'm a night owl, as they say.
Okay.
So I'm one of those people where I faff around during the entire day, and in the morning and then in the night where everyone is asleep, there's not that many people awake. That's when I find myself doing all the stuff that I probably could have done during the day, but cram it into like the 2 hours at night. I guess everyone has their own thing,
I mean,
there is an important.
I think that's the point. Like, so for me, maybe I'm a lark and you're a night owl. But it's just finding the time and being honest with yourself. Like, there's how many times at work or when you're doing something, are you saying you're working, but your productivity is not great? I remember reading this thing about revising, right? Revising. People who say that they revise for 6 hours straight. The problem is that if you start here, your concentration or your productivity goes down anyway. So at 3 hours, you're probably half as productive as you were at the start. So rather than having long periods, if you do it for half an hour, your productivity never drops as low. And if you take regular, like, these are just things that you if you put yourself in a position to learn these things and do personal development, you become a better version of yourself. You know, and it was those kinds of things that helped me in the thought process, because one of the things that I struggle with is if I change all this stuff, am I still going to be me? Am I still going to be myself? Am I, you know, and
your authentic self?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, one of the takeaways was I'm just going to be a better version of myself. It was actually a big rate limiting step to me going to therapy, personal therapy, because I was like, I don't want to be like, let me go therapy, and then 2 years later I'm like, there's no God. Like, you know, it was a big issue for me, but my journey has helped me realize, well, these things are just helping me be a better version of me rather than somebody else.
Oh, so did you actually take therapy then externally?
Yeah. So after my dad died, we did family therapy, we did couples therapy and individual therapy, because we wanted to make sure that the kids had the language.
Okay, fine. To you,
and you know, to be able to, because life is hard and death is around us and all these kinds of stuff. And as a grown man, I realized that there are things that maybe I hadn't dealt with that might have started at a younger place. So we wanted to. I don't want my kids to have to. I don't want to have gone through it for my kids to also have to go through it. So let's invest in them and their emotional robustness.
Okay, because I hear that's actually a question, and within the Christian community, is as to whether therapy is, like you said, something that people comfortably take up, because there's that thought that are they replacing their faith with another ideology or what they may be in it? But no,
it's a good question, and I think what I would answer to people is that there's a verse in James that says it's also about confessing so we know the concept of confessing your sins to God so you can be forgiven. That's clear. That's fine. No one is disputing that. But it says confess your sins to one another so you can be whole. And I believe that verse is talking about the benefit of talking. And I think, obviously, this is my personal opinion, God's original plan was, if you look at like indigenous societies, we had all the stuff around us. We had your relatives and your family, and the thing about taking a village to raise a child, we were all in each other's life. So you had an uncle who might have done something that I can speak to, or I can at least watch his life and say, okay, I'm going to do that, I'm not going to do that. And we were talking and stuff. And as we've become more westernized and distance, that's why we needed the specialty of people who have training in therapy, because if we were just together, there'd be somebody you could talk to. You see what I mean? So I think the talking, obviously it depends what you talk about, but my experience is it doesn't change who you are.
Okay.
It just helps you become a better version of yourself. I know one of the guys I know, he was a pastor and now he's a therapist because he thought he could help more people in that situation. So no, go to therapy in case you're wondering, auntie or uncle.
Okay. But you're addressing me there. I was like, hold it. I want to go through some of the chapters. So we've got a couple of the chapters in the book, some of the titles of the chapters. Actually. One that just actually stood out was, did you know you are going to die? You are
going to die.
And I mean,
it's not cursing you.
It's
when nobody's God forbid.
I mean, but can you talk to us a little bit about that? In particular, please.
So I was listening to Stephen Bartlett on his Diary of a CEO podcast, and this is one of the themes that he was talking about in terms of like, do you know when people say live like it's your last day and stuff, and I don't think that's good. He was saying he doesn't think it's good advice. So if you actually thought today was your last day, you wouldn't be responsible. You wouldn't go to work. You wouldn't pay taxes. You wouldn't eat well. You wouldn't do all those kinds of stuff. Because like, I'm dying today anyway. So like, you know, let's have a party. Yeah, exactly. So, but and it's difficult because I think actually Christians have a head start in this because we understand the fact that we believe that Jesus is coming back, but we don't know when. So we're living in a perpetual state of preparedness, you know. So I think that the living that you're going to die is to ask yourself the question: if you died, do you think that you've done everything that you either wanted to do or you felt that was inside you?
There's a lot of pressure in that, though, in that question. Because there's
in what way?
There's no. If somebody asked me that question today, today, I would say the answer would be no. If that was now my mind thought and my thought process, I feel like I would be running out of time, because the reality is we don't know when the time is.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel like personally for me, I'd be at a constant battle with all the things. An example is, just to loosely relate it, is to when I go on holiday, all of a sudden I need to wash all the clothes in my laundry basket. I make sure all the things are, it's like I'm coming back. It's okay. I'm not going to take all of this.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
Pressure. So it's actually interesting how people would manage that.
No, I hear you. For me, obviously, the point of it is almost to be that kick up the backside to say, don't procrastinate the thing that you think that's inside you, rather than put pressure on you to be like to grind. Because I don't believe in grind culture. You know, I think you
believe in sleep, because
you need sleep. Yeah, absolutely. And don't get. I think you are more effective when you refill your cup.
Okay.
And a lot of grind culture is just work till you're exhausted. And you know, some of us are getting older. And the things that I could do 20 years ago aren't things that I can do now. So I have to be honest about where I physically am, as well as working towards it. But no, I think for me is, you know, you're going to die is there's a line in the book that says most people don't if I was to ask you whether you are living your life in a way that you realize that one day you are going to hand over everything that you have built or done to someone else, are you honestly working like that? I think most people will be like, no,
fair enough,
you know. So again, rather than make it a pressure, use it as fuel.
Okay, fine, fair. There's other chapters within the book. Out of interest, before I go into a couple of others just to speak about, was there any specific order you chose to put them in terms of where them? Was it like a journey?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to make it coherent in terms of thoughts. So kind of generic mindset stuff, and then specific things about like fear of failure, fear of success, fear and gifted and stuff. So not really. I just wanted to make it flow, because the other thing about the book is that it's you could read it from cover to cover. But I'm hoping that what people do is they read it and ponder. Okay. You know, read it with a notebook and think to themselves, like, you know, how does that relate to my situation? What can I learn from it? Again, like an anthology. So that, again, the theme is building blocks, but each you could watch it, you could do it standalone. That's the point of it.
For somebody on a journey right now or some point in their life, who would you say is the most ideal? What do they call it? Your target, not your target audience, your reader. Who's your ideal? Who's this book aimed at this moment in time?
Yeah. So I think the book is aimed at me, you know, 3 to 5 years ago. So being in a situation where you might think that you're coasting.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so
I guess
Monday morning you get to work, it's Saturday. Monday, Saturday, Monday, Saturday, and then you end up at the end of 6 months of the year, you think, what? And don't get me wrong, I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 fantastic children. I have a great family. We've been able to buy a house, but really thinking that there's more. You know, not from a I'm not satisfied with this. There's more, but I believe that there's more inside me.
Okay.
There's more, you know, and yeah. So that person wanting to mine the things that are inside them to be able to die empty, and feel that they've been able to not just made a significant impact, but to be able to be a good steward of all the things that they have inside them, you know.
Okay, I hear you. One of the chapters, it costs what it costs, and the reason why I laughed initially is because I mentioned initially in the beginning about haggling, and you know, everyone's trying to get the best deal. I guess everybody, cost of living, increasing cost of wigs, etc., as you mentioned earlier. But in terms of it costs what it costs, can you give us a bit of information about that? Because obviously what we're trying to do, guys, is everyone needs to read the book if you get the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely.
We'll give platform, but with just a little insight, so you just kind of entice people into what they can look for.
So it costs what it costs. So again, depending on where you go, there are certain, like if you go to, I don't know, where's in London, Hackney Market or whatever, or market, someone says one price, you say another price because of the fact that this is just the culture or whatever. And there's some people who will do that wherever they are, but some people tend to do that in specific situation. However, there are places that you will go where, because of the fact that the actual value or the perceived value of that thing is so high, when they tell you a price, you just accept it.
Yeah, Selfridges.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly. Okay, so this tie costs £90. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're either buying it or you're not buying it. There's no, I give you 45, like, you know, even though legally you can.
Really?
Yeah, you can handle anywhere. Honestly,
but legally, but
yeah,
no.
yeah. So the point of it is that in the context of putting yourself in a position where you want to live your ideal life and work towards putting yourself in a situation where you wake up every day happy about where you are, what you're doing, and who you're with, that's not going to go on sale. So you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to pay the price.
Okay, I hear you.
Because it doesn't come cheap. You see what I mean? So building those followers, building that reputation, you know, doing the work so that you're more forward 6 months down the line than you are now. All that kind of stuff isn't going to come cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what it means when it costs what it costs.
I like that. That's a very good the way you related it to life. Actually, it's true. There are certain things in your life you just wouldn't haggle. You wouldn't want to haggle. It's the cost of haggling.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Seat belts on your car. I'd get a cheap version. No. No.
Although there are certain things that you could. But
of course.
You substitute in for a cheaper version. You sometimes may get like a cheaper quality.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't want that.
No, we don't.
At what point are there stages at your in your day-to-day, life, day-to-day living that you can sometimes that you yourself pick up your book and find a chapter to read that you relate to, depending on what's happened in that day or in that month?
Good question. So at the moment, because I'm in it, probably not like pick it up to read it to encourage me. Whenever I do read it, I'm like, rah. Like it still speaks to me.
Yeah.
You know, it still motivates me. It still moves me. You know, so no, I'm really quite impacted by the messages in the book still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And also one of the messages you put in there as well, one of the chapters, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
At your own pace.
Yep. Yeah. So again, back to the situation where you're building the life, right? Even if somebody gets overnight success, even though most things aren't overnight, they've been grinding for a time, you just figured out that they are who they are.
They've blown, yeah.
Yeah, even if somebody gets overnight success, there are things that they don't learn on the journey if they get the thing too quickly. And I was just using the analogy of, okay, so again, I'm building life of my dreams. I want to end up somewhere, either it's millionaire status or CEO or presenter on Channel 4 or mother, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working towards it. And the analogy of somebody who was a marathon runner, how can I apply that to my everyday life? So first thing, marathon, like the equipment that you use is important.
Mm-hmm.
So marathon runners aren't going to run with Timbs and jeans.
No.
I mean,
as
they
expensive
could,
as they are, they're not.
yeah, they could, but it would make the thing that they've said they wanted to do harder.
Mm-hmm.
So, are there things in your life that you've said, actually, I want to get there, but there are things that you either using in terms of equipment or whatever that's making it hard? Are they weighing you down? Is it friends?
Yep.
Is it is it TV? All these kinds of stuff. A lot of these people have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to start a business or you want to do this, actually having a coach shortens the achievement period, because someone's done it before. A wise man said, life is too short for me to learn everything I need to learn by making my own mistakes. I want to make sure I get somebody else's opinion, especially if they've done it before.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting points it was made in the book is that, so the concept of running, right? So since you're 2 years old, you've been running, right? But there is a way to run in life, and there is a way to run that makes you good at running marathons. So sometimes in terms of trying to get where you want to get to, you're even having to relearn the thing that you think you can do. Speaking, listening, communicating, all that kinds of stuff. There are ways to do the thing that you probably already know how to do, but do that thing more effectively, or do it in a way that promotes longevity. So actually, it's possible for me to live a life where I'm working 22-hour days and the stuff, but do that for very long. I'm probably not going to be very healthy. I definitely won't have any connection with my family or my wife or my kids and stuff. And even if I achieve whatever I want to achieve, what will the cost be? So there are ways of doing the thing that I want to do, but doing it in a smart way. And there's a number of analogies I give in terms of like a marathon runner. An interesting point is, like, again, the point of longevity. Marathon runners learn how to catch their breath on the downhill.
And swimmers as well, underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than stop because you're tired, learn to catch your breath on a downhill and keep going.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like something my PT trainer would say when I've almost want to give up in the gym.
Don't stop. Keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, indeed.
I hear you. Let's get on to like where the book can be sourced. What's the process of people getting their hands on it?
Fantastic. So I am, publishing it on Amazon. So if you want to if you put in building blocks and then my name, Ayo Olatoye, then you'll get this picture and you can get it as an ebook.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Yeah, and by God's grace, by tonight, I will be uploading the manuscript so you can get it as a physical book.
Oh, okay, yes.
So yeah, man. And then in the next couple of weeks, I'll be recording an audio book as well. So for people who want to, put their AirPods on and pretend that they're listening to Spotify, but they're listening to Audible.
You want this on the Spotify Wrapped playlist by the end of next
year? Yes, indeed. Yeah, man.
Amen. In terms of so guys online, Master Builders 2022.
So Master Builders is my platform on Instagram, Master Builders 2022. But if you go to if you go to Amazon Books. You go to building blocks and put my name. That's the easiest way I know how to find it. And if you go, then it'll be there, and then it will also be there again. Hopefully by tonight, the physical copy to buy as well.
Okay, fine. So and Christmas is around the corner. So
yeah, man.
Tonight is a good time. No pressure, like you said. Speak it into existence.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it'll be a fantastic Christmas present to sit down over Christmas, where you have some time to yourself just to sit and really prime you mentally for the year. Yeah. Almost like the elastic to pull you back and say, okay, go.
Okay, I've pinned in. I wanted to pin in the. You can pin it into your chat as well, actually, even if it's for the last couple of minutes.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Let me see.
Let's see. And then. Because I can type it. But...
So if you put that in.
You put it in, yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, build. I think you can even, can you pin, if you click on
The link.
Yeah, if you pick on my, you'll see.
One second. Let me see if I can get the link.
For you to say that you want to share as well. Without jumping the gun here, in terms of like, what would you say the next chapter or the sequel will kind of look like for those that?
Well, so I was thinking about I'm going in two directions.
Mm-hmm.
So either I start a blog, because actually for my people that are in the organization, I'm still doing weekly messages since the book.
Okay.
You know, so I'm thinking about starting a blog, or again, wait for a year, collect the message that I've done in that year,
Mm-hmm.
and put it out. So I mean, I'd be interested in what people think is a good way to go forward. What do you think? Start a blog?
I just had an idea that came up to me, is actually, if anybody has experienced anything similar and then has a contributing chapter that they'd like to put, that could also work within.
Yeah.
Because you can get different people's experiences.
Yeah, no, that'd be really good. That'd be really good. I mean, and another thing I'm doing is that, because there are some people who, like, the book will be enough for to give them fuel, but there are some people who are like, okay, what I think I need is the community and or the mentorship. And so there is, if you go to buildingblocks.live/pre-order, there are coaching packages that we're giving. So the you can have a weekly, call with the community, weekly call with myself, giving some specific coaching tips. Do this, don't do this, have this conversation, that kind of stuff. Because sometimes we need somebody in the background of our ear saying do this rather than do the other thing. And the packages are such that it'll be a complete 360 wrap round support for people to be able to have these conversations, be vulnerable in the space. Really, I mean, I've even got packages that involve some therapy sessions, so we can really dig deep into some of the things that might be holding you back in terms of decision making. There are packages that you can get, some strategy calls with the family business blueprint, run by Bolaji and Fumi Olataye. And for every of the packages, you can get a selection box from Blue Strings Bakery, best in the UK.
That's the one that would draw me in. You should have started with the food, and then we can do the logistics.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, man, so I'm really excited about where it's going forward. And I'm just really excited to work with people who are serious about, you know what, I'm coasting.
Yeah,
I want to move forward.
I think everyone admits it at some point in their life, and now's a really, really good time. Everyone is literally in their time of reflection. It's December.
Yeah, man.
Everyone is like wrapping up. You've got Instagram wrap ups, Spotify wrap ups, Apple Music should be ashamed. But like, in terms of everyone is literally just analyzing the year. Even my own personal take of this year has been a coast, to be honest. It's been one of those years where I can't say anything remarkable. I mean, I'm grateful for some of the things that have happened in terms of like work and whatnot, but like in terms of what I look back and think, what have I really achieved? But sometimes we also are quite hard on ourselves, and it takes your friends to remind you of X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
But it is a really, really good time now for people to think about in terms of what's going to happen for next year. Obviously, never just wait for the new year, but it's always a really good place to start.
Absolutely.
So definitely would recommend people just to have that be conscious. And I'm someone that finds it difficult to read, but in terms of like picking up a message, maybe a chapter, and thinking, okay, this might apply to me at this point. Kind of have maybe
the audio book for you when it comes out.
Yeah, that's where I've got the concentration of maybe a 2-3-year-old. So yeah, that would be fantastic.
And they want to say anything.
Whose voice are you using for the audio?
I'm gonna do it.
Oh, okay. No, it makes sense because we were obviously.
Nice try. You can do book number 2. Don't worry about it.
No worries. So no worries.
But you know what? Another thing that I'm really grateful to God for, again, if it's not the thing, it's the thing that leads to the thing, is that going through this process, even though I didn't set out to start the book, 2 things have happened. So my son Ezekiel, who is 10, he's writing a book.
Oh, yay!
Seriously, yeah. It's a book about an intergalactic football challenge.
Oh.
So look out for that.
Nice.
And there are people in my circle who were like, do you know, bro, I want to write a book. You've inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. The ripple effect of seeing if I can do it, other people can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like there were other books in me. So I'm a consultant in acute medicine. I'm going to write a book about that.
Yeah,
you know, and just so I'm so grateful for the journey, and putting myself in a position where this is now, like I never. If you'd asked me last year, would author be one of your titles? I would have said no, but
never say no.
You know, absolutely.
Never say
no.
In
fact, look out for my socials. I want to do maybe a masterclass early in next year about okay, so this is what it. So we make author too high like we think the barrier of entry is high. It's not. I'm going to break it down step by step for people to be able to like enter it. Honestly, it's much easier than you think. And
as a rounding closing point, what has been the thing you've enjoyed the most about being an author and this journey?
I think it's the impact
that you've had on.
You know, so my wife's again, brownies and blondies, best in the UK.
Yeah, shout out.
What I love is the skeptics and that first bite where you can see their mind, they're trying not to like it, and they're like, this is good, you know. Like, we've got a reel of converts, and for me, the thing I've enjoyed most is people saying, you know, that really spoke to me. You know, thank you. That really helped me move forward. That really changed my mind. So, you know, that's the thing that has been the most enjoyable. Okay, and I commend you. Aya, any final messages for this live, this IG live? one last words for the peoples. Okay, last words is it's the concept of mining. I keep talking about this. So people think about my future is ahead of me in time. Yeah, so where am I going to be in 6 months or a year's time? Yeah. And one of the we've got 20 seconds remaining. The concept is we've got an hour. It's